Manu, the Boy Who Loved Birds by Caren Loebel-Fried. Manu squinted up at the sunny sky. A breeze tickled his cheek. He heard noisy clapping wings and watched a dove as she landed on a telephone wire. Puffing out her pretty spotted neck and tawny chest, she sang. Manu laughed. He loved birds. Manu means bird in Hawaiian. A long time ago, Manu's father told him,
"Your full name, Manu'o'omauloa, means may the o'o bird live on. O'o birds are extinct, gone forever."
That doesn't make any sense. Why did you name me after a bird that is extinct? And if it's extinct, how can it still live on?
His dad said,
"E Manu, nui na mana'o kekahi inoa, I kekahi la'a, e ike awa ne'i oi ka mana'o nui o ko inoa ma kou ho'o mau popo pono I iho."
The next day, Manu's teacher told his class to try and imagine what the history of Hawaii might have been like from an o'o bird's perspective. Millions of years ago, a black bird from a faraway land was migrating with a group of her relatives. They got caught in a terrible storm and strong winds carried them out to sea far from their usual route. After days and miles of flying through gusts and raging wind, the air finally calmed. They saw a dark shape on the horizon and flew to a strange land of lava. She and her flock hungrily ate nectar and flowers from a few small trees. They plucked tiny insects from the leaves, branches, and under the bark. Exhausted, they settled in the tree for the night. She slept for the first time in her new homeland. One by one, over thousands of years, birds, insects, seeds, snails, and bats arrived here. Humans brought plants and animals that were useful to their ways of life, like chickens, cows, sheep, goats, pigs, cats, and dogs. Introduced animals ate Hawaii's native birds, their eggs, and their young. And birds were bitten by mosquitoes and infected with deadly diseases. And now, many of our endemic Hawaiian plants and animals are gone.
All the rest of the day, I thought about the o'o and other native Hawaiian birds.
That night, he dreamed he was an o'o bird. Manu gripped a branch with his clawed feet and stretched out his sleek, dark wings. He shook and fluffed out all of his plumage. It felt good. He crouched, splayed his tail feathers, and flashed the bright yellow feathers beneath his wings. Manu realized another o'o was perched right next to him, watching him with bright black eyes. The o'o leaped into the air, his long striped tail feathers flapping behind him. Suddenly, without even thinking, Manu jumped into the air. He was flying. He grabbed the wind with fast wing beats and quickly caught up to his friend. They banked around lush fern trees, spiraling playfully over the mossy forest floor. Manu felt like he was the pilot and the plane doing crazy tricks. They zipped through the sweet, damp air, taking turns chasing each other. Olapa trees, like hula dancers, waved their leaves gracefully as Manu and the o'o bird flew by. Manu quickly plucked and swallowed an olapa berry. They caught up to his friend to help chase smaller birds away from lehua blossoms. They slurped up the sweet nectar. Manu thought it tasted like liquid candy. The two birds flew up to the open sky, sailing in graceful arcs over the treetops. As they traveled, the forest started to grow thin. Manu felt hungry. They searched for flowers, but there were few. They flew and flew up the mountain. Suddenly, Manu noticed he was flying alone. Where did his friend go? Manu looked everywhere. He frantically searched the sky, then the treetops below, screaming, "Oh, oh! Oh, oh!"
Manu'o'o!
I opened my eyes. Mom held me.
Manu'o'o.
He scanned his bedroom, searching wildly for the o bird.
E Manu, e noho malie. He moi uhane vale no.
Manu blinked. He was quiet, remembering. Then he said,
I dreamed that all the forests were gone and there was no food for the forest birds. Mom, are there still forests in Hawaii for the native birds? Will I ever get to see a Hawaiian forest bird?
Manu's mother touched his cheek gently.
Ai e Manu. He makana ka maua o ko makua kane no ko la hanau. E hele ana ka ko I Hawaii. E kipa I ko ka ko ohana. E hele ana ka ko I laila. I ka wau kele. No ka ike ana I na Manu.
Mom hugged me tightly, and there I will find the o bird. Then I'll learn the meaning of my name.
The day finally came. My brother picked us up at Hilo Airport. Our big island ohana surprised Manu with a luau. Cousins and friends sang and played ukulele and guitars. Tutu danced a hula called Manu'o'o in honor of Manu's birthday. Manu ate his favorite foods, pork laulau and haupia for dessert.
But all through the party, I kept thinking about the next day, when I would finally see the native birds.
In the morning, we brought Manu to Hawai'i Volcanoes National Park. At the visitor center, we explored displays of the forest plants and birds.
I pressed buttons to hear the songs and calls of these birds. I listened over and over again, memorizing their sounds.
Out on the trail, the air felt cool and misty. The forest smelled sweet. Through the leaves, we could see Kilauea volcano puffing steamy clouds into the sky. Manu was so excited and looked at everything around him. But he had learned from his mom and dad to be quiet and still, to look and listen.
Manu heard whirring wings and whispered.
Apapane.
Their bubbly song filled the forest.
I can see them through your binoculars, Dad.
Their red bodies and white vent feathers were easy to identify. Manu watched one apapane land right above them and plunge his beak into the red lehua blossom.
Oma'o. I recognize that song. It sounds just like their name. But I can't find the oma'o bird through the binoculars.
Hila loa ka Manu'o'omauloa. A pili ka vai ho'olu'u o ko lākou mauhulu manu I ke aka. Aka, ike no na'e kako he oma'o no ia ke lohe ia e kona leo mele.
Then they saw an io, a Hawaiian hawk, gliding in big circles high up in the sky. Its calls pierced the air. That afternoon, Manu and his parents visited a special conservation center where endangered Hawaiian forest birds were being raised. Someday, these rare birds will be released back into the wild. Manu learned about the plants and insects these birds depended on for food. To survive in the wild, they would have to find food on their own. In a room with screened windows that was filled with trees, Manu saw big Hawaiian crows. Alala. They hopped heavily from branch to branch. One made funny muttering sounds and watched another who pecked at a hole in a tree trunk. Manu walked down a dark hallway where windows revealed rooms that looked like little forests. These environments had been created for the endangered species so they can grow in safety. Manu watched the akiki, then the kivikyu. He paused and smiled at the palila with their bright yellow heads zipping from branches to food bowls.
So funny and cute. That palila is looking right at me.
Squinting his eyes, Manu imagined the walls disappearing with the palila flying free. Manu felt so happy to be surrounded by Hawaiian birds and plants. But then he realized,
I haven't seen any o'o birds the whole day. Are the o'o really gone?